Let's talk about another quarterback who gets the franchise nod and sometimes doesn't play like a franchise quarterback. And Breach, I'll come to you because Trevon Diggs is out with the ACL for the year. He was one of the best players on that defense. It starts with Micah Parsons, of course. Dak Prescott, for the first 2 weeks of the season, wasn't really asked to do much. The defense sort of did the heavy lifting. And you might say, well, the defense didn't hold a percent of the bargain against Josh Dobbs, but you can't say that without laughing. Terrible interception at the end of the game. And I went back and looked. That last drive, it was 28-16, Arizona scored. And our guy Mike McCarthy follows us up. They get the ball at 7:22, and they run a 14-play drive that ends in that interception. Use up 4.5 minutes. 8 of those plays are run plays, and there is no urgency. And I'm sort of confused by that. But are you putting this on Dak? Is it Mike McCarthy being without Kellen Moore? Is it something else? Is it the injuries? Are you concerned about the Cowboys? Because this feels like the Cowboys charging in a Cowboys way.
It absolutely does. It is the old breach bot fell for it, kind of like last year that we always talk about. And the thing was, I was on a radio show earlier going into this week and saying, man, Mike McCarthy's so underrated. He's won 12 games each of the past 2 seasons. He is 2-0 now. This team finally looks good, and they're on pace to meet up in an undefeated matchup with the 49ers in week 5. And man, I should just rip my tongue out because I have no idea what I'm talking about. I must have jinxed the Cowboys. So you're talking about this is a game where they just got outclassed, and I'm going to put it on Mike McCarthy. I know that there's a few other options, and I could have gone another route, but I think Wilson, you start to hit the nail on the head there. These play calls just don't make any sense. You're down multiple scores. You can't just be running the clock out. Why are you trying to run the clock out? You're losing. You're not up 2 scores, Mike. You are down 2 scores. And then the other part of this is that they got the red zone 5 times against the Cardinals, which that's a good number to get red zone 5 times. They scored 1 touchdown. So there were 4 times they did not score a touchdown. If you have a bad red zone offense, I put that more on the coaching than anything else. Was Dak great? No, Dak Prescott was not great. But this was a classic Mike McCarthy. We saw these types of games at the end of his Green Bay tenure a lot, and everyone would just stick their hands up and be like, when are we getting rid of this guy? And obviously the Cowboys aren't there yet, and Jerry Jones just gave him a vote of confidence, which is probably horrible because he was talking last week about how good of a coach Mike is. Just as I was. So, yeah, I'm going to put this on McCarthy for bad play calling, bad red zone play calling. Just hopefully it's a mulligan. I don't know what's going on here.
I think the other thing, too, the other reason you can put it on Mike McCarthy is the Cowboys sleepwalked into this game. Like, they rolled out of bed and trotted down to State Farm Arena or whatever it is, and we're like, all right. I mean, we're 12.5-point road favorites against this trash Cardinals team, even though they're being coached by one of the defensive coordinators who's been in that division for several years and knows what Mike McCarthy likes to do. Kellen Moore have been calling plays, but still, you've seen this personnel plenty of times. You're missing Zach Wilson, Zach Martin, and who else was ruled out right at the? It was kind of a.
They're missing 2 offensive linemen.
Yeah, 2 starting offensive linemen. It was sort of a surprise, like they're going to be missing 2 offensive linemen. That is concerning. But man, I don't know. I put it on. I put some of it on Dan Quinn and the defense too. And look, the last 2 weeks, Dan Quinn's going to have his pick and litter when it comes to whatever job he wants. And Mike McCarthy's really coaching this team well. Micah Parsons, Jim Nantz was on CBS this morning and called him like a Lawrence Taylor player. Jerry Jones said the same thing, right? We've heard, we were praising, we put Micah Parsons, we did a ranking show with Prisco and had Micah Parsons in our top 5 non-quarterback MVPs and said he would probably be in there even if you included quarterbacks. So it's like all of this hype for the Cowboys after 2 weeks of just, running a cement truck over the Jets and the Giants. And we're like, well, the Cowboys, they are here. And maybe we were a bit premature because the Arizona Cardinals, that's about as easy a start as you can get if you're an NFL team. Giants, Rodgers-less Jets, and the Josh Dobbs-led Cardinals. And so 2-1's fine, but that game was you could put it on the defense for not being prepared. You put it on Mike McCarthy for not they didn't come in ready to win that game. They came in and looked sloppy, looked lazy, and the Cardinals took it to them and outcoached them. So I put that on the coaching staff for sure.
I just want to go on record as saying I was never on the Cowboys this year. I just don't trust Mike McCarthy, and Dak Prescott makes me very nervous. I mean, they can turn it around.
One game, you jump off the bandwagon, Ryan.
By the way,
Wilson.
By the way, if the Bucks, I mean, if the Eagles go down to Tampa on Monday night and lose to Baker Mayfield and the Bucks, what an unbelievable weekend that will be for the NFC East. After everybody's like, oh, 3 of the 4 teams are undefeated in the NFC East. You start the weekend with you start Thursday with like the Giants getting like slaughtered by the Niners. Then you have the Commanders with the Bills. The Cowboys get blown up by the Cardinals. If the Eagles lose, that's an all-time weekend for the NFC least.